The CSI men and women get huge conference wins tonight. CSI, the men, beat York 77-65. They improved to 16-6 overall, 10-3 in the CUNY Conference. York falls to 13-9 overall, 7-5 in the CUNY Conference. Big loss for York right there. CSI women beat York 85-58. They improved to 13-9 overall, 10-3 in their conference. York women fall to 7-13 overall, 4-8 in the CUNY Conference. Let's start with the women first. It was a huge win for the women. You know, I think overall the women have been underachieving this year. Bigger expectations were for them than for the men. And they hit a couple of roadblocks, had a couple of tough losses. They got the win at Barclays Center, and you thought that was going to kind of skyrocket them. It didn't. But they have a nice little two-game winning streak going on. 10-3 is good for third in their conference. Unfortunately, they have Baruch and Brooklyn have lost one game combined. Baruch's 12-0, Brooklyn's 13-1. And CSI has lost both games to Brooklyn College. So that is not good if you're a CSI fan. You're probably thinking the same way I'm thinking, that third place is what you're going to be going into the tournament, because Lehman's 8-5. I don't think Lehman's catching you. Hunter, and then after that, it's a steep drop. Hunter is 6-8, York's 4-8, John Jay's 4-10, and CCNY is 2-11. Obviously, Medgar Evers on the outside looking in for a playoff spot. They are 0-13. But with the women, Victoria Cray, who came late from a swim practice, she had 15 points overall. Victoria Gallinaro led the way for the Lady Dolphins with 16 points, 7 rebounds, as Megan Meyer had 13 points. Jamie Piffalo had 12 points. She actually had the first basket of the game, a three-pointer for CSI. When Piffalo gets hot, she gets hot with that little outside jumper of hers, and she can hit a three like the best of them. And Megan Meyer had a pair of three-pointers in this game versus York, and they have Megan Meyer right where they want her. I'm talking about CSI. They needed Megan Meyer to step up and be the Megan Meyer that we all know she can be. Now, there's no lie. She struggled mightily the first half of the season. And every time she would get a basket, you'd be like, well, that's the Megan that we're looking for. And then she wouldn't have a good game. She wouldn't have a good game. I don't know if she was pressing or what. But now she looks like she's coming into her own. She's having a couple of good games. She's got the outside shot working. And that's Megan Meyer's bread and butter, is that outside three-point shot. And she can hit it really well. So if you're CSI and you get Megan Meyer to start hitting that outside shot and being the Megan Meyer that you know Megan Meyer can be, look out. But it's going to be tough for them to even get the number 2 seed, because Brooklyn is 13-1 and Brooklyn has beaten them twice. So tough break for CSI. I don't think they'll be getting the 1 or 2 seed. But the number 3 seed looks like that's going to be the case for CSI. And if that's the case, they would play York. They would play York. So it would be CSI versus York in the opening round at the Dolphin Tank. That's not a bad matchup if you're the Lady Dolphins. So that is the women's side, and those are the standings and what we happen right there. Again, Gallinaro leading the way with 16, Cray with 15, Meyer with 13, Piffalo with 12. For the men, all those men, listen, they got destroyed at Brooklyn College last Friday. Destroyed. What a difference a week makes. They beat CCNY at home, and then the game yesterday versus York, they win. And a funny thing about CSI and York, York was the team that beat CSI last year and ended that incredible run and kind of made CSI go down in history as the greatest NCAA Division III team never to even make an NCAA tournament, let alone win a conference championship. And York spoiled that. York came to play last year at the Nat Holman Gymnasium, and York spoiled them. I tell you what, CSI has spoiled York's hopes this year. They have swept York. They dropped York to 7-5 in the conference, and that was a huge loss for York. We talked about it coming in that York needed this game, because let's look at the standings that are right now on the 7th of February, the year 2015. Baruch is 12-0. CSI is the number 2 seed at 10-3. Right behind them is Brooklyn at 10-4. CSI split with Brooklyn. Lehman's 9-4. CSI is 0-1 so far against Lehman. They have Lehman again on the 17th at the Dolphin Tank. York is 7-5. That's huge. A lot of people figure this year that York coming in, they'd be the team. They already beat CSI. They'd have the confidence against CSI, and you're thinking York's going to sweep them. Well, if York swept them, that'd be 9-3. It'd be a little bit different story. That's not the case. CSI has buried York's hopes for good seeding, and they are 7-5 at the season end today. York does not even get a home playoff game. They face Lehman on the road, so that's a huge loss for York last night. Tough loss for them, but guess what? You can't deny them when they get into the tournament because they're going to be tough. Hunter's 5-9, John Jay's 3-11, Medgar Evers is 2-11. Outside looking in for a playoff spot on the men's side is CCNY at 1-12. But the big three stepped up. Frankie Schettino, 22 points, 7 assists last night for the Dolphins. Fonseca, 27 points, 7 rebounds. Delahanty added 12 points, 8 rebounds. So that three-headed monster again rearing their ugly head if you're an opponent of CSI. And they are just getting it done. 16-6 overall, 10-3 overall in the CUNY Conference. Now, they have a couple of conference games left. They have 3 conference games left. It's going to be Medgar Evers. It's going to be Hunter. It's going to be Medgar Evers. It's going to be Hunter Medgar Evers, Baruch, and Lehman. So, I'm sorry, those are 3 big matchups because Medgar Evers, that's on the road. Could that be a trap game? Because after the Medgar Evers game, you have Baruch on the road, and then you have Lehman at home. Those are 2 big games, and if you're CSI, you don't want to fall into that trap of having a trap game. That almost happened in the home game versus John Jay in the game before the road game versus Brooklyn. They looked sluggish. They were down by 11. Finally, they came through. John Jay kind of sealed the deal with turnovers on themselves, but CSI cannot fall into the trap on the men's side of a trap game against Medgar Evers. They have to get the job done against the Cougars, and then the situation at hand, taking out Baruch, ending their undefeated streak in the CUNYAC Conference, and then taking out Lehman. If they can do that, they'll be 13-3. Again, Baruch has to go 1-3 for CSI to match them. And even so, if they beat them, it's going to be a split. I don't know how CUNYAC does the tiebreaker in the case of a split. Baruch is going to be tough. There's no doubt about that. But CSI could definitely help. They play their cards right. They can win all 3 games. They can go 13-3. That would knock Lehman down a peg, and that would knock Baruch down a little bit. Obviously, Medgar Evers, who knows? Maybe that will eliminate them from the playoff contention. But 3 big conference games for CSI. They have the chance to go 13-3 overall. At worst, they will go 10-6, which is what I had them around. I actually had them going 10-6 in the conference this year, but I don't think they'll lose to Medgar Evers. Lehman, even at home, and Baruch will be very tough matchups for CSI, but they're right there. The men are right there, as a lot of people thought that they would not be. But 16-6 overall, 10-3 overall in the conference is not bad. Again, Fonseca with 27, Frankie with 22, Delahanty with 12, and also the women getting it done with a little modest 2-game winning streak. Gallinaro 16, Cray 15, Meyer 13, Piffalo 12. Look for the women and the men to have very, very, very good runs in the CUNYAC Conference for the playoffs. So you got to keep their cards right, keep playing with the passion that the Dolphins can play with, and just keep on fighting on if you're a CSI.